Silicon Valley, technology, art, green, and sustainability.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Silicon Valley Tech, Art, Green, and Sustainability. And today I have a very special guest with us who has been doing everything from, he was a businessman doing his own think tank to now he's venturing into art and sustainability and some other things. Michael Killen, welcome to us and welcome to the show today.
I'm honored to be here, Heather.
I'm honored to have you. This is probably odd for you being on this side of the seat, right?
Yes, I mostly have been there, but I've been on this side a few times in my life as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, a short bio, if you may.
You know, I'm one of these folks who has accomplished some interesting things in different fields, but I'm also one of those folks who never went to college, although I've had a great appreciation for education. However, if I wanted to learn something, I've often gone out and wrote a book on the subject. And in my early days after high school, I basically took a different job every 6 months. And within 6 years, I started my own company. I became president of a think tank. And we would analyze various emerging business opportunities. And I did that for about, 25 years.
So that's a pretty interesting thing. You hear about all these think tanks and incubators and different things in the Valley. I'm really interested too, you've produced 400 shows. And can you talk a little bit about that? And I know now you're moving into the sustainability space as well, and you're doing some interesting things. So tell us a little bit of that. And I guess the Killen Report too
Killen,
is
the Killen Report.
The Killen Report.
Yes, a fellow named Charlie Klass and I put together a show called the Killen Report. And we would interview usually executives, and we were fanatical. If we got interested in, let's say, the French banking industry and market, what was being developed over there, we'd actually line up 6 presidents of banks in France, and we'd go over and we'd interview them. And in those days, the banks were very concerned with Microsoft, how it was moving into certain financial applications. And I'd go and interview all the different banks on what they thought Microsoft was how they were going to impact and create opportunities. And then we've gone to places such as Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Peru, Chile, Japan, all over the place doing shows. We loved doing shows, and always asking, what are your goals? What are your objectives? And what are you going to do for society?
And you would take your crew with you to these places? And
sometimes we take the crew, sometimes we hire them along the way. And then once in a while, a crew might not show up. And I would have to set up the lights and everything and do it myself. Charlie Klass went with me on a lot of shows.
You just like owning a business, you have to be able to do everything yourself, right? When you're doing film production.
Yes, yes.
Roll the camera yourself. Yeah. You were telling me about, was it China that you went there with Ross Perot or something?
China. In 1978, the United States government and the People's Republic of China announced that China would now open up its country to foreigners. In the past, if you went to China and you went to, let's say, Beijing, if you could get in, the people there would never have seen a Caucasian like you. It was just, you would be new. Well, when China started to open up, I suddenly got a telegram from the People's Republic of China, some big mucky muck. And he said, Mr. Killen, you have been selected to be on a 5-man team. We were the first team to go into the country, and they offered us the opportunity to visit all the major universities and see how they're teaching computer science.
Wow.
And then our job was to give them advice on how they could leapfrog the educational process of teaching computer science. And that was a typical opportunity for me, because as I left, I bought a little phone book of Chinese contacts. I wrote 40, 50 pages, and I bought something else. and I packaged it into something, and I sold it for $1,500 a piece to every company that wanted to do business in China.
Nice. That's back in '78.
That was in '78.
Now, how did that tie into Ross Perot? I thought
Ross Perot's company was called EDS, and they were a major software house, a systems integrator. Recently, they were purchased by HP. However, their company had developed a massive software package to help large telephone companies automate their billing process. And I was hired by the president of Europe for EDS to do a show with them. And after I did that show, it was such a success, it helped them get a $5 million order, which is probably, over time now, it's probably been worth 50, 60 millions of dollars. And it was for Deutsche Telekom. And then I started doing some shows for them in the United States.
So yeah, you've been doing this a very, very long time. You're a pro at the show with 400 shows. You just recently changed the name of your show, right? And you're adding sustainability into that?
Yes.
Tell us why you did that.
Because I decided a few months ago with Charlie Class to focus on sustainability. And when I do something, I work in the world of television, but I also may work in another area like art, okay? Sustainability came to me as something of interest because I had just finished doing 25 shows on climate change, and all of a sudden NASA came to me and said, Michael, we are opening the most energy efficient building in the entire federal system. We're calling it sustainability based.
It's going to be LEED Platinum or Gold or something.
Yes. Yeah. And I said, well, that's good to these NASA folks. And then they said, Michael, this is an important building. We want you to make a special painting for our lobby because we're going to have a VIP event and we want your art to be in that lobby. And so at that point, I got myself a dictionary. I started looking in the papers and I started to think deeply about sustainability. And before that day, and that was just yesterday practically, I couldn't even spell sustainability. And so I then started to make this massive, gigantic painting on sustainability. But when I work on a project like that, I like to interview as many people as I can who have different insights and different aspects of sustainability. So we changed the name to Michael Killen and Sustainability. And I guess we'll change the name again when we feel we have worked it enough, helped the public, the community enough on that topic.
And what was the name before?
Michael Killen on Creativity.
And was there another name before that?
Maybe the Killen Report.
Okay, the Killen Report. And actually, can we talk about that a little bit, the Killen Report? And we're going to come back to the artwork in a little bit, and we'll look at some photos. Tell us about that, the Killen Report. I think that's fascinating, your background in that, and what you did.
Okay, I'll give you an example. On a Monday morning, the New York Times and other newspapers broke the news that the Department of Justice had just dropped an antitrust suit that was running for about 8 to 13 years against AT&T. And AT&T agreed to break itself up. At this point, AT&T was a $128 billion company. And if you break up a company like that, it's going to have a great impact on big users of telecommunications. It's going to have a great impact on competitors, and there's going to be new competitors. So I decided to publish some studies on the business opportunities of the breakup, and I also decided I wanted to get more insights into what was really what happened and what's going to happen. So I call up the chairman of AT&T and I say, Charlie, I'd like to do a TV show with you on why you succumb to the pressures of the Department of Justice and Judge Green.
Wow.
Would you agree to discuss it? And he said, sure. So Charlie Class and I
amazing.
flew back there. We went to their headquarters in those days, New Jersey, Bedminster, New Jersey, and I did 2 half-hour shows with the chairman of AT&T, primarily to gain insights onto why they gave in to the Department of Justice and agreed to demolish the company as it existed. Again, it was $128 billion. That's a serious size. And why they turned it into 8 companies.